Welcome back to Court TV Live. With me on set, Juda Engelmayer, who is Harvey Weinstein's publicist and a dear friend of the show. Juda, okay, yes. We got some big news. And that is, in my hot little hands, I have a motion letter from the defense team in reference to calling Detective Nicholas DeGaudio in the defense's case.
Right.
Now, just to remind our viewers, Detective Nicholas DeGaudio, and you'll jump in if I'm wrong, he was one of the original investigators against Harvey Weinstein for the NYPD.
Right.
Full disclosure, I did represent Detective DeGaudio in, oh yeah, that's Detective DeGaudio on the right. I actually represented him when I worked for the Detectives Union back in 2018, but nothing to do with this.
Right.
He was just a witness in somebody else's case, but just, with that disclaimer. So he was the investigator on this case. There he is with Mr. Weinstein. I think when Mr. Weinstein surrendered himself to be arrested in May of 2018. And then it came to light that he was coaching one of the original accusers.
Well, coaching in one hand, saying to delete some information, we don't need everything, less is more. But in other cases, he left out information when providing information to the prosecutor. He conveniently left out some details of some of the witnesses' testimony. That was in Lucia Evans' case.
And she was an accuser from 2004?
She was one of the original accusers. One of the original Harvey's case had 3 complaining witnesses, not 2. And she was the 3rd one, who was ultimately dismissed because of some of this material. And what it came out was Detective DeGaudio left out information conveniently for whatever reason. And Miss Evans' friend who gave the information over, her father happens to be a big prosecutor, I think, in Chicago.
Oh.
And or a federal lawyer, a federal prosecutor, and told the DA here that he was going to go have a press conference in Chicago about the fact that his daughter the information wasn't provided properly, and he doesn't want his daughter to lie. So that's why they backed out. Ultimately, we believe that's why they backed out of that case.
And the prosecution dismissed it.
And the prosecution ended up dismissing it.
Okay.
The problem is that we also know that in this case, Juda Engelmayer had a similar circumstance. She had told the same thing to the detective and conveniently left that out. And when everyone found out about it, ultimately they didn't want to dismiss that case because they dismissed that case. They didn't really have a case against Harvey.
Okay, and I did hear Juda talk about that today when she testified. She mentioned DeGaudio on the stand. Now, okay, and also now in this motion, yes, she said something about Detective DeGaudio spoke to all of the witnesses, or she was one of the people they spoke to. Okay, so in the defense's letter motion, they're specifically pointing to Jessica Mann.
Right.
The people asked Jessica Mann whether she was ever asked to produce her cell phones. Ms. Mann claimed that she was uncomfortable turning her cell phones over because she had naked photos of herself on her cell phones. She expressed this to Detective DeGaudio, and quote, he said, if those pictures are anything like that makes you uncomfortable, we can just delete them and we won't tell Joan.
Right.
So this is yet another instance.
So that sentence itself, and we won't tell Joan, is already, they're deciding what information is important, what's not important, what information should be brought for Harvey's defense or against Harvey's defense in this sense, or prevented from Harvey's defense using. And that's ultimately why we wanted to call him. But this letter, as you know, was submitted a day ago or so, a day or so, and it was just denied. At the end of the day, the judge said, "No, you're not calling him. You can't call the cop."
Wait! I don't understand.
But I'm outraged at that. I'm outraged at that. In what case do you never not have the investigating police officers telling the jury what they heard, what they found? In this case, they don't want him, and the judge is not letting him have it either.
But why? Okay, just let's
why?
rewind.
I'll give you my reason
wait,
why.
Hold on a second. Just hold on a second. Rewind.
Right.
Juda, calm down. Juda, calm down. Okay, you got to just keep it together. I know you're winding up. It's a defense case. Juda's all riled up, people. Okay. In the motion practice that I read, and this was all, I would say, between, I guess after the superseding indictment, there were applications by the defense to call Detective DeGaudio. The judge's decision, and this is my understanding, the judge's decision, I thought said DeGaudio can't testify about A, B, and C, but didn't mention D. So why can't he testify? He's another human being like anyone else. Why can't he testify?
The judge said more than that. The judge said he couldn't testify about A, B, and C, but said if he was brought up on cross-examination or by the defense by one of those witnesses for something within as written in this letter, then he would consider it.
So why not?
Well, he considered it.
Okay.
He considered it and said no.
But why?
He didn't say. He didn't guarantee it.
Why not?
Well,
I mean, there's no explanation why he can't testify.
There is an explanation, and I'll tell you, and I've said this to you a few times already. This is not really a case to try Harvey Weinstein. It's a case to find him guilty. It's the case to already convict him. And if they have the detective coming up and telling the jury about games that were being played, about perhaps not.
I have an idea.
Okay.
Okay. Get in your car, get the defense team, get in your car, and go to Madison and 27th, and go to the appellate division.
Well, I think they're doing. First of all, as you
or
know,
walk. Or you take the subway.
But as you know,
he can't afford
with the
a car.
appellate division, you can't go. You can't go until after the trial.
No, even with the issues happening now.
I think right now you have to finish up this case, and anything that if we feel we need to appeal later on, you can go to the appellate division with a collection of everything, including this. And I will tell you that Justice Burke has lined himself up for a great appeal should Harvey be convicted. He is, because there's so many things that have been had a miscarriage of justice on this. So many decisions he's made, which has been completely one-sided, including this, keeping information out. Keeping information out, allowing them not to hand over Brady material, allowing them to put on whatever witnesses they want to corroborate the corroborators, as we discussed. This is what the judge has done consistently. Anything that we ask for, anything that we think is legal and necessary, he says no to, or almost anything. And almost everything the prosecution has asked for, granted.
I do want to correct myself because I did not, and like you have the best appellate lawyers on the team. You have the Honorable Barry Kamens, you have Diana Fabi-Sampson, who was a appeals attorney in the Manhattan DA's office, so they certainly know much more than I do. I did not do appeals. I just thought maybe that's a venue. Has anyone talked about perhaps going to the chief judge above Burke's head?
From everything I've been told, and mind you, I don't know the specifics, but everything I've been told is that at this point there's no venue to go to, and no mechanism to fix this or try to fix it until after the jury has rendered its verdict at this point.
Okay, but
at this point,
what I'm saying is
the judge has free reign until the jury's done.
What is confusing me is that just like the prosecution has lists of witnesses, you can call who you want to call.
No, they have limited.
And they're subject to cross-examination.
They have limited us and said we cannot call who we want to call. And everyone we call has to have a good reason. The judge has to understand the reason. And Joan Aluzzi has to say yes.
I mean, I'm frankly confused. I mean, because you're saying, listen, this is the guy who was the lead investigator. He was arm in arm with Harvey Weinstein when Harvey Weinstein surrendered himself. So procedurally, he was part of the case.
Correct.
So you have the procedural argument, the logistical argument, the evidentiary argument. And it's not just Talita and Jessica Mann, but I think other witnesses, every time I've gone in, I hear DeGaudio's name. I've heard DeGaudio's name, I think, from at least 3 people.
I think what's very key to this entire case is the police investigation, the prosecution investigation, because if you actually follow the investigation, there was no case to prosecute. So by conveniently leaving out information, leaving out blocks of information for the jury, they're trying to put together a case with what they want to present.
Okay.
And I'm not ashamed to say it at this point. I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid to say it at this point. When this first started, didn't want to do it, but now we're at the end, and you saw today. You didn't
want to do what?
I didn't want to go make any accusations against the court beforehand, and I still don't feel comfortable doing it. But when you look at decisions that have been made, I don't think that anyone on Harvey's team, and Arthur Idal has been practicing in New York for a long time, Barry Kamens, and no one has ever seen the case where the judge is not allowing these kind of witnesses to come forward. And then Don and Damon say in Chicago, they've never waited on a case where the investigators weren't allowed.
I will say this: I had a sex trafficking case in that courthouse, different judge, and similar things happened to me. My client was not rich and famous. He was an indigent guy, but it was a very, very, very prejudicial case, and I've experienced very, very similar type of behavior in that courthouse. And I, for one, listen, just sitting here in this chair, I am getting killed for my positions, but I'm just reading like.
But your positions have been legal ones. You know what they want is the politically acceptable.
Yeah,
positions.
I just don't understand. I mean, like I'm looking at these arguments. I don't understand. There are discovery violations.
There have been.
There are
yes.
witnesses who aren't outcry, who are allowed to outcry, and now this. Okay, so we have to take a break. Will you stick around?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll be right back with more with Juda Engelmayer.
We are live in New York with everything you need to know in the Harvey Weinstein rape trial as the 4th week of testimony begins. We look ahead at the potential roadmap for this larger-than-life trial, and we're live in Florida to bring you the big moments in the Ice Cream Man murder trial. What is this jury to make of the evidence presented so far for 2 murders now 10 years removed?
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan tonight, starting at 6/5 Central on the all-new CourtTV.
And Claudia Salinas.
Right.
And overall, fantastic witnesses for the defense.
I think they were fantastic witnesses for the defense.
I was in the court, unbreakable.
I think that the prosecution was a little nervous today. You could hear it on their voice. You could see it. I don't know. They kept on trying. They tried to impeach all 3 of them, and they couldn't. They couldn't get anywhere.
Well, we did a deep dive into Talita and Claudia with Chanley and Julia. So if you could tell us about Nelson Lopez, I didn't see him.
Nelson Lopez is a very nice older guy. He is the resident manager for the Gramercy Park building where Annabelle Shore lived. And he's still there, has that job now. He had that job 33 years ago. And he's known every doorman ever since he started. Everything he said, he came off genuine. He knew the names of the people. He knew what shifts they were on, and he was 100% on point with. There was no way that anyone ever got into that building unannounced.
Hold on.
No way.
But it wasn't him. He was not working the night that Harvey Weinstein allegedly
No, but
was
he
there.
said this. But he was talking about the building in general and saying that there's no way that there was ever a shift uncovered. There's no way that anyone went to the bathroom and Harvey snuck in like a ninja. None of that ever happened.
Ninja.
At the very end, when they couldn't impeach this guy, no matter what, because he loves his building and was defending his building till the end. The prosecution asked him if it's possible one of his doormen might have taken a bribe to let Harvey in, to which point the judge shut him up. The judge, what do you call it again? We objected to that and admonished the prosecution for even saying that.
Really? Okay. And first of all, don't you love the New York doorman making it? It's like another character.
It's another character.
Yeah, because it's such a staple of New York society is the doorman. And
but as we've discussed this in the past, you have I'm from New York. She was from Brooklyn. There's no way that you open your door to a stranger, particularly in a building where no one gets in unless they're announced. All of a sudden, someone's knocking on your door and banging on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning. Not happening.
I am going to confront you with this.
Sure.
So I spoke to a accuser, Hope D'Amour, from 1978, and she talked about how when she was in the city with Harvey Weinstein, he was a concert promoter at the time, I'm sure, as you know, and she said they went to this Broadway show that was completely sold out. And he wasn't the Harvey Weinstein, he was just some concert promoter. And he's so charming and he's so persuasive that he was able to get like these amazing balcony, blah, blah, blah seats by talking himself into it.
That's beautiful. But
I don't invite you on to be sarcastic. Come on.
That is theater. That's a theater. That's a show. That's a show. Security is not involved when it comes to a building like that.
Security. It's not like they're talking about the TSA, Judah.
You're talking about protecting wealthy people in a building on Gramercy Park, and God forbid there's a real crime committed. What kind of financial damages would that board of the co-op be charged with? And the reputation of the building in terms of and the property values, absolutely not.
So you think that this jury was convinced beyond any doubt?
I think this jury was convinced that this guy was honest. This guy was genuine, and you couldn't shake him. That's what I think the jury was convinced of. I'm not going to take a leap.
But the point is, he wasn't there. It's the other 2 guys were there.
But he also spoke about the procedures. No one knows. First of all, there. He might have been there. The problem is no one could pinpoint a day. And Joan kept on saying to him, "Do you know, were you there that day?" We don't even know what date. We're trying to back into a date that nobody has. Remember, this was a wide allegation between the winter of 93, the
94,
spring of 90.
No. It was the winter months of 93, 94. Calm down. That wasn't that long.
So they were trying to back the doorman into a date, which is like, how can I give you a date? I could just tell you generals, what the shifts were, what the procedures are, but there was no date and time.
Okay, let's talk about what's coming. I mean, listen,
Sure.
Okay, we'll see what the jury thinks, but let's talk about what is coming up tomorrow. defense case should wrap up. Tommy Richards, who's going to testify about a
meeting.
Oh, Jessica Mann. Doubletree Hotel.
Right.
Okay, then we have two other women expected to testify, a Stephanie and a Denise. They are expected to testify against other accusers.
They
Molyneux.
are impeachment witnesses for some of the Molyneux. Yes.
Okay, so maybe Dawn Dunning or Tara Leigh Wolf.
Right. I'm not going to get into the details of who, because you never know also how this lineup can change.
Where's Gloria Bousset? Not Allred.
I don't know if we found her yet, or if we.
I thought she was on a flight from Colorado.
I don't know if we had a full conversation with her yet. But
Okay.
that's also why I'm saying that I'm not going to give out names of people testifying tomorrow. That could change. The lineup could change depending on what we find out.
Okay, and is Harvey Weinstein on the lineup?
He's prepared to if he has to be.
Tomorrow?
He's prepared to if he has to.
You better get me a seat in that courtroom. Okay, so now, all right, so Detective DeGaudio is out, but we can expect Tommy Richards, 2 more impeachment for the Molyneux. Gloria Bousset, we're not sure if she's even testifying.
Right.
Is there anybody else that we haven't talked about that possibly is testifying?
You know what? There are lots of names been brought up, and I don't really know. I think the judge gave a schedule today and thinks this case is going to be wrapped by Thursday or Friday. But listen, the onus is still on the prosecution to prove this case, and I think
I know what the law is. Okay,
everyone
down.
we've brought forward so far has poked holes in what the prosecution has presented.
We've heard the schedule from Arthur Aidala, from our producers, from our reporters. Everybody's talking about the schedule. I'm sick of hearing about the schedule. What about a rebuttal? What about a rebuttal? You guys, everybody's forgetting that there could be a rebuttal in this.
So
this is Jonah Luzzi.
I believe she's going to try, but I think the judge also made it clear to her that she is not given that much leeway. She's not being given that much leeway on how many rebuttal witnesses, whether she can call a rebuttal witness at all, and she has to meet a certain guideline for it. I don't know what that guideline is.
I'll tell you, it's got to be within the scope of defense.
But the judge does not think it's going to go beyond Friday with that.
Okay, let's just say, though, so now it's possible that closing arguments wouldn't be Thursday. Wednesday is dark for everyone's, in New York versus Weinstein, Wednesday will be no court, of course. We will have gavel-to-gavel coverage of Florida versus Keeley, so keep that in mind. But in terms of Weinstein, Thursday could be a rebuttal case.
Thursday could be a rebuttal. Well, no, I think Thursday's the day we're wrapping up and doing closing.
Why are there closings Thursday and or Friday? Do you think these are going to be like 12-hour closings?
So what the judge, I think, wants to do is give the jury a break in between so they don't get bored by after one gives a 2-hour, he doesn't want the other one. He doesn't want the jury to start yawning for another 2 hours.
Let me tell you something. That is not fair. Because you know what the prosecution is going to say? Donna Rotuna said this. Donna Rotuna said that. Donna Rotuna said this. And the whole closing is going to be about what Donna Rotuna said. And she's going to have too much time to prepare. I don't like that.
Did you just say that it's not fair?
It's not fair for the defense.
But this whole thing has been not fair for the defense since the start of the trial.
Breaking news.
I can't stress enough how
listen, I'm not happy about it.
The court and the prosecutor have, in a sense, been in alignment on how this trial goes.
And listen, I understand what you're saying. I am in this because I like to see the fair process.
Right.
I just want to see a fair fight. And that is what is so disturbing about what's happening in that courtroom behind us, is that this has been an unfair fight. So when whoever wins, it's not a fair win.
Well, if we win, we'll call it a win.
Okay, we shall see. Okay, so we're not sure on the rebuttal case, still possible.
Right.
Harvey Weinstein testifying tomorrow.
Is prepared for it.
Just tell me what he's doing.
There's no way.
Do it, Judah. Tell us now.
There's no way to answer that question. It really depends on how we think, on how we feel.
We could get him on speakerphone. We could get him on speaker. Why do you act like you don't hear me? You're right here. You're like sitting right next to me. He's like, huh?
Because
what'd you say?
I can't hear you. You're trying to back me into an answer.
Juda Engelmayer, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Seema.
so much, my
it.
friend. Coming up next, more new testimony from inside the courtroom. More on New York versus Harvey Weinstein.